Are you pregnant after IUI or IVF and you're stressing yourself out that maybe the doctor used someone else's sperm or even transferred the wrong embryo? You are not alone. Today we're going to talk about this very real fear and how often it actually happens. Welcome back to Every Mama's Midwife. My name's Jess. I'm a certified nurse midwife and infertility mom, and I'm currently 26 weeks pregnant with an IVF pregnancy. With IVF, because your eggs are taken out of your body and fertilized in a lab, you don't actually have the guarantee that the baby you're growing is yours, like someone who conceives spontaneously or via IUI, intrauterine insemination. Even when I was pregnant with my daughter, whom I conceived via IUI, I had the persistent fear that maybe the clinic used the wrong sperm. Our doctor was East Indian, and most of the other couples we saw in the waiting room at our fertility clinic were also East Indian. So I had this scenario playing through my head that our baby would be born, and immediately you could tell that it wasn't my husband's. While Indian babies are adorable, my husband is not Indian, and I had this fear that he wouldn't love our baby or that I'd be forced to share custody of our child with a couple that I'd never even met. And I feel like this should go without saying, but because this is the internet and people love to be offended, I'm not saying that couples who use donor sperm or donor eggs or embryos don't love their children. We absolutely would have gone that route had we not been able to conceive with our own eggs and sperm. When an accidental switch takes place, especially with IVF, my concern is, do I have to give someone else this baby that I have grown and birthed and loved and become very attached to? So, to help put my fears to rest, I looked up the numbers so you don't have to. This is your warning. If you don't want to know this information, click away now, but I will say I found the numbers very reassuring. Because infertility clinic mix-ups are so rare, it was actually kind of hard to find data, but the most specific data I could find was from an LA Times article that was published in December of 2021. The article referenced a study that was completed between 2009 and 2019. Out of 2.5 million IVF procedures reviewed, there were only 133 in which errors occurred that resulted in lawsuits, which is 0.00523% of procedures. Of those 133 errors, about 2/3 of them were due to freezer tank failures, so loss of embryos instead of mix-ups. I did find one study on NCBI, also published in 2021, I'll drop it in the comments, that said errors in the embryology lab occurred in 0.03% of IVF cycles. Again, this would include freezer failures or accidental destruction of embryos, not necessarily mix-ups. I'm sure we're all aware of the situation in Alabama that happened a few months ago where someone's very wanted embryos were accidentally destroyed, so cases like that would be included in this percentage. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any reliable data about how often sperm mix-ups occur with intrauterine insemination. If you've ever done IUI, you know that they're double-checking the semen sample against your wristband, and that you're double-checking, and your partner's double-checking, and your nurse is double-checking, and the lab tech is also double-checking. My husband would remind me of this anytime I started to freak out during my pregnancy with our daughter, but I can still remember at least 3 or 4 times when I got so worked up and stressed out about it that it brought me to tears. It's a really unique fear that couples going through infertility have to struggle with, and I just want you to know that if you have these fears too, you are not alone. If you did not have these fears and I just caused you increased anxiety, I am so sorry. Fortunately, when my daughter was born, my second thought after, oh my gosh, that's the most beautiful baby I've ever seen, was, she kind of looks like my father-in-law. My husband was also very reassured because his first thought was, she looks like my grandma Jean. And we did name her Ingrid Jean after his dad's mom. All of these checks that are in place for IUI are also in place for IVF because fertility clinics know if they did have a mix-up, it could result in a career-ending lawsuit for everyone involved. When we transferred this embryo, my husband, myself, my reproductive endocrinologist, my embryologist, and my nurse were all in the room, double and triple checking the information. They also gave us a rundown each time of how many embryos we had left in storage, so we knew that the numbers added up accurately. While mix-ups do happen from time to time, they are so rare, it's not going to do you any good to waste the mental energy stressing about it. There's already a lot of added stress and anxiety that comes with being pregnant after infertility or pregnancy loss that mamas who get pregnant easily just don't understand. Fortunately, there are a lot of things you can do to help support your mental health while you're pregnant after infertility or a loss, and I will go over all of those things in my video next week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I post new videos every week about infertility, pregnancy, and motherhood after 35, so make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Thank you so much for watching.